thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Oh, yeah. Good morning, everybody. That's right. It's hump day. It's Wednesday, May 8th. Everyone loves the 8th. Today is National Student Nurse Day. National Third Shift Workers Day. Shout out to all those third shift workers shifting gears. National Coconut Cream Pie Day, Luke.
Ooh.
Yes. National Receptionist Day, because everyone loves a receptionist. You know what I'm saying? National School Nurse Day. And that's about it for today. So thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above on your screen to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. And I do want to send a big thank you out to Adam, who helped us get ready for today's show. He is not with us on Wednesdays this month, but we do have Millie over here joining us today. So shout out, Millie. Thank you for driving today.
What up, Millie?
Yes, thank you for driving today. Today is her first time driving today, guys. So we're going to see how she does, how her high performance skills work with this OBS and whatnot.
So excited.
Yes.
Listen, if I have one piece of advice for Jay, it's all gas, no brakes, Millie.
All gas, no brakes. That's right. You know exactly what it is. Speaking of all,
can we get that Lil Wayne, a Millie beat for a second, bro?
A Millie.
That's cute. You guys that have your little sing along and whatnot for a second. Cute. We're gonna start this off today first with Mr. Attorney Dale Schafer. Rico is going to join us probably right after Dale's story, but we're gonna kick it off with Attorney at Law, Mr. Dale Schafer. He's the founder of Armada Law Practice, and at one point in time did some time for a cannabis crime. Is a two-time felon that didn't do no telling, and that's right, it is none other than everyone's favorite Tio Loco, Mr. Dale Schafer. Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. Once again, the disclaimer, I'm off my meds and I'm unsupervised, so whatever you get, you get. And I ain't your lawyer, so take it at that. My story this morning involves whether the smell of weed is probable cause to do a warrantless search on somebody.
Oh, boy.
In this case, it was a car. Now, let me just start this by telling you what the Fourth Amendment actually says. It says the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the person or things to be seized. Okay, in 1789, nobody had an SUV. Okay, so as time has gone forward, this idea of warrantless searches has gotten teeth in it. And if you're in a car in North Carolina, that's considered an exigent circumstance that could warrant a search of your vehicle without a written warrant for a judge. And that's what appears to have happened in this case. What we have is somebody at a bar called the cops and said, I saw a gun in a car. Okay, not an unusual thing for the police to hear. Cops showed up, and this car was outside of a bar, and the cops observed 4 people getting into the car. And so when it went onto the road, they did a pretextual stop. They were at least honest enough to say it was a pretextual stop. And what we don't have in this is a description of how many guns were out as they approached the car and the color of the occupants of the car. Now, I hate to be too much of a cynic here, but the plaintiff's name here, let me just make sure I get it, is Tyrone Lamont Dobson. Okay, and if I had to hazard a guess, he was not Scots-Irish, probably not a redneck. Okay, so what happened is the cops pull this car over, 4 people in it, they suspect a gun's in there, and it turns out the driver of the car, a female, was the parole and probation officer who had a license to carry a gun. Okay, but as this was unfolding, apparently one of the cops said, oh, I smelled pot in the car, or smelled weed, or I think they used the term marijuana. Okay, this is where things begin to get really sort of stupid, because North Carolina has legalized hemp, smokable hemp, and the human nose is incapable of detecting hemp versus higher THC strains of marijuana. Can't do it. Okay, so when this case was charged, and I'm assuming that they found weed in the car, this Tyrone pled guilty of eventually to cannabis charges. So I assume they found weed in the car. Okay, so one of the officers allegedly said, I smell weed, and somebody else said, well, I smell cologne. Okay, so they went ahead and searched the car, found apparently some weed. This guy got charged. Well, when after he was charged, they moved to suppress all evidence from the search because it was unconstitutional, it was warrantless. And that's sort of where the pissing match began. Now, back in after Prop 64, when cannabis was legalized in California, there were a couple of cases that blew the probable cause out the window for smelling pot and being able to do an unwarranted search. One of them, I think, was an apartment. Some cop said he smelled weed coming from a window, did a warrantless search, and of course weed's legal, and it was all thrown out because it was a warrantless search. We also had dogs hitting on cars, and they were trained to smell weed. Okay? They also were trained to smell other drugs, but if they were trained to smell weed, you challenge it as an unconstitutional search because dogs can't tell the difference between legal and illegal weed, hemp and higher THC strains. They can't do it. So North Carolina was faced with this. They challenged this. In trial level, the trial court said, nah, I'm going to allow the search under exigent circumstances. They smelled weed, and cologne can mask, evidence of something other than just weed. So this went to the appellate court, and an appellate panel of 3 judges from the appellate court ruled that the smell of weed was justification to search the car. And there was other things they threw in, but primarily it was the circumstances of probable cause was they smelled weed, and cologne can be used to mask the smell of weed. So that's where the appellate court decided, and what this defendant has done is asked for the entire in-bank Court of Appeals to take a look at this and decide, okay, is the smell of weed when smokable hemp is legal, probable cause to warrant an unwarranted search of that vehicle? That's been handled in California, and the answer is no, okay? Other states are beginning to look at this now because law enforcement loved weed cases because it's low-hanging fruit. If you smell weed, man, you could roll in, boom, I'm popping you anything in plain view as I'm doing a search. We're going to bust you on everything. And the courts across the country are going to have to look at this and decide. First of all, if you do a search without a warrant, it's presumed unconstitutional. Okay, that's where we start from. The exigent circumstances of being in a vehicle have changed it a little bit, but then, okay, you're in a vehicle, they could drive away if you don't, move forward on a search. What's the probable cause needed to search that vehicle? Okay, and if the smell of weed, it's legal, okay, now how are you going to parse this one out? So I would hope that either the Court of Appeals here in Bank or the Supreme Court of North Carolina takes a look at this and says, no. It's presumed to be an unconstitutional search unless you can show us you have reasonable probable cause. And the smell of weed anymore is just not that. Okay? So that's basically a starting point for me to discuss across the entire country. How do you handle this when dogs can't tell, when humans can't tell, and you want to use the smell of weed as probable cause to go do an unwarranted search? I'm going to throw it back at you. What do you guys all think? Because this football is going to be kicked a lot as cannabis is legalized across the country.
Mm-hmm. That is for sure, Dale, without a doubt. Oh, go ahead, Manndie.
I was just going to say, a lot of states are, well, not a lot, a few states are starting to take a stand on this, right? In California, and I don't know if it's Nevada. I can't remember what other state has recently passed something on this where probable cause does not include
the smell of cannabis. Right? Yes, you're right.
Yeah, the smell of cannabis. And also, not to sound lame and come up with some whack ass excuse or whatever, but if you do a quick Google search, there is an endless supply of cannabis, cologne, and perfume you can buy online right now. It's based upon terpenes. There is no psychoactivity to it. It is just to smell like your favorite strain. Mm-hmm. And so, this is very easy to argue, I think, all day long, and whoever is leading the charge on this defense needs to be tapping into the legislation in California and what helped lawmakers decide that probable cause should not include odor of cannabis.
We're actually working on something like this behind the scenes over here at High End 9 News. We have a new website that's going to be coming out, and people can check it out. It's just a placeholder right now, but weeddui.com. I encourage everyone to go and share their information with that, and we are going to have some solutions for this to help people.
It's funny Maddie mentioned those colognes. When I was in college, I don't know if they still make these, but at Spencer's at the mall, the gift shop, the Hot Topic kind of gift shop that they had, they used to sell cannabis incense. They had a blunt smell. They had an OG Kush. I remember buying those for this exact reason. If a cop ever showed up at my college apartment, I'd be like, I don't know what you're talking about. I have these incense, so that's it. Yep. Thankfully, I never had to deal with that at that point. But a few years ago, I think it was 2020, I was driving back from Portland to LA, and I had just crossed into California on PCH. I think it's California City or Cathedral City right there up there. That's the first city that you hit. And I didn't see the speed limit sign go down as I went into town. I got pulled over. I had a little bit of weed in my car. And, smaller town out in the middle of nowhere. My skin is not Scotch Irish as Dale said.
Stop the
gaslighting. I was just like, okay, whatever. They asked to initiate a search. I gave them permission because I was on a road trip. I'm like, whatever. I have less than 5 grams in my car. Oregon and California are both adult use states. So I did it. They found it. They let me go. They gave me a warning. They didn't even write me for the speeding. But as he is leaving, this officer tells me that he was a part of the case that established that the smell of marijuana can still be used as probable cause to initiate a search in California. And like I said, at this point, he had already told me that I was getting a warning for the speeding and not getting anything else. So I did not even think about arguing with him. But in my head, I was like, it was on the tip of my tongue being like, actually, sir, the California courts have ruled that the smell of marijuana is not probable cause to initiate a search. But I think the bigger point here, though, is we're going to see resilience to them getting rid of this because they've always used the smell of marijuana as a pretext to target people that they want to initiate searches on for other reasons. So
profiling.
Yes, yes, exactly. So logically speaking, of course, if it's legal, then the smell should not constitute probable cause. But I think we'll see courts and prosecutors and law enforcement very resilient to that idea because it takes away one of the biggest tools they have to engage in profiling.
I'll tell you what, right after 9/11, okay, right after 9/11, they started putting drug dogs on BART trains, okay? Because they're trying to be like, yeah, we're fighting against terrorism, da-da-da-da. But they put the drug dogs on there. It's like terrorists aren't running around with drugs. They're running around with bombs, okay?
No, but they used to try to say that all of our money used to go to terrorism, remember?
They did start to try to paint that narrative, but they never
and
came
now
with
it's
any
like
proof.
Chinese communist triads now today.
Well, I mean, the Chinese are definitely growing some stuff and got a lot of illegal grows. So I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. But here, you know what happened back then is that all of the cannabis activists went and got like all these little tinctures and whatnot and started spraying them on all of the seats in the BART trains on all of these different cars. And the dogs just started hitting just like random people all the time that were just happened to be sitting in these random seats and like had no, whatever. And so they ultimately pulled the dogs off the BART train because they viewed it as a loss of resource because the dogs were just hitting on everybody's stuff and they weren't finding anything.
Man, can you imagine being on that train and you got like a triple vax seal pack in your bag and then you accidentally sit in one of those seats and because of the smell of that.
You know what I was thinking? I was thinking like, you got someone that pulls up and has a suitcase and it's like 4 or 5 bricks of cocaine or something in there and all of a sudden they get hemmed up because they sat in the wrong seat.
Yeah, that'd be shitty.
So bringing us back to this issue real quick. Let me touch on a couple of things real fast before we move on.
Okay.
Manndie made a really good point because of even in North Carolina, and Dale actually alluded to this as well, is that because of the 2018 hemp bill, farming bill, we have hemp in a unique position to where now the smell is actually a legal substance, right? So yes, that's it. I mean, it's only going to be a matter of time before that is washed out. Now, law enforcement is going to fight that tooth and nail because that has always been one of their indicators of, or one of their ways to be able to basically do illegal searches. It happened all the time in my neighborhood. When we would be driving, a cop would get behind us. He'd walk up to the car and say, "Hey, I smell weed." Everybody out. Everybody searched. And they would search the car. Sometimes we would have weed on us then, sometimes we wouldn't.
Yeah.
That was just the way it went. My experience, fast forward to when we opened the dispensary in 2004, one of our very first bank deposits, we get pulled over. The officer says he smells cannabis. We're in a rental. I don't even have any cannabis in the car. They search the entire car. They find our deposit. It's cash and a check. Back then there was still some banking stuff going on in 2004. So we had a cash and a check. They took it, both of them.
Yeah,
well, this is one of the reasons why the cops have been fighting so hard to not let cannabis go forward as a legal commodity. Because they knew it was low-hanging fruit. It didn't take much of a claim to get beyond the unconstitutional search, and they still are. And as I'm reading about this case in North Carolina, this court twisted itself into a goddamn knot to try and deny the science that a dog and a human being can't tell the difference between a legal and an illegal substance. Okay? They twisted themselves into a knot. I'm glad to see they're challenging this because the cops have gotten away with this for so long. They don't want anybody to put any roadblocks in front of them to stop them from doing what they've been doing for so long. And when they do, they lose their goddamn minds here. Or they do what they did here, twist themselves into a pretzel trying to justify something that scientifically is not justifiable.
And it's going to get worse too now because they can't even claim that it's going to be THC because THCA hemp flower is legal in so many places. So that's going to make it even harder.
And on that, we got to close this rabbit hole. We got to go to a commercial. We are going to be right back.
Oh man, that was weird. Hey, you America. Do I look like Sean Connery? Good
morning, America. Suman Razani coming to you live from sunny Los Angeles, California with the one and only highest host, Mr. Jason Beck, smoking on the best weed in the world. Did you know that we have an audio-only version of our podcast? You can find it on Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. No excuses in 2024. If you haven't checked us out, check it out now. And also, check out what the Prophet's doing in 2024.
All right, and we're back, you guys. We're back. We're still waiting on Rico, so I'm gonna run into my story real quick, you guys. Man, oh man, oh man. I wish Rico was here for this.
Rico, come out to play.
I'm sure he'll pop in hopefully by the time I finish with this story. But Florida Republicans formally oppose marijuana legalization initiative, you guys. The Florida Republican Party has formally declared its opposition to a constitutional amendment ballot measure to legalize adult use marijuana in the state, saying the initiative would benefit powerful marijuana special interests while putting children at risk and endangering Florida's family-friendly business and tourism climates. Florida voters will decide on the ballot measure to legalize marijuana known as Amendment 3 in this November's general election. If the initiative succeeds at the polls, it will legalize marijuana for adults and empower the legislature to establish a regulatory framework for adult use cannabis production and sales, you guys. The Florida GOP's executive board, Millie, I think we might be in the wrong studio. There should be a banner on below me. I'm sorry. Okay. Florida voters will decide on the ballot measure to legalize marijuana known as Amendment 3 in November in the general election. If the initiative succeeds at the polls, it will legalize marijuana for adult use and empower the legislature to establish a regulatory framework for adult use cannabis production and sales. The Florida's GOP Executive Board passed a resolution to oppose Amendment 3 and Amendment 4, an initiative to protect abortion rights statewide, and its quarterly meetings on May 4th. In a statement after the resolution was adopted, Republican Party of Florida Chair Evan Power, I actually know Evan, said the ballot measures are unnecessary attempts by increasingly shrinking minority who know the only way to win support for their radical agenda is to confuse and mislead the electorate, and urged voters to reject the initiatives. In quotes, he says, we support killing the amendments as a party because it's not good policy for the state, Power told the Miami Herald, according to a report from cannabis online news outlet Marijuana Moment. It says, when you look at it, it seems like these amendments are out of step with what Floridians want. Amendment 3 has wide bipartisan support because Floridians know legalization means accountability, transparency, and safety, Hill told the Florida Phoenix. Smart and Safe Florida is committed to safe access to cannabis products while empowering the legislature to enact comprehensive regulations spanning from cultivation to consumption, including where people may or may not smoke in public. Such protections are customary within the implementation of any policy in our state, regardless of the industry. And Florida Republican Governor Ron DeSantis said last week that he would campaign against Amendment 3 and Amendment 4, and the governor also plans to help raise money to support efforts to defeat the two initiatives at the polls this November. In quotes, my view is both no on both of these, DeSantis said. We'll be getting involved in 3 different ways, I think, across all those initiatives. More than 1 million voters signed petitions to place Amendment 3 on the ballot before the 2024 general election, and if passed, the constitutional amendment initiative would allow the state's current providers of medical marijuana, which was legalized in Florida in 2016, to begin selling cannabis to all adults aged 21 and up. Adults would be allowed to purchase up to 3 ounces of marijuana at a time, including no more than 5 grams of cannabis concentrates, and the bill does not include provisions to expunge past cannabis convictions or home cultivation of marijuana, which activists feared would lead the Supreme Court to block the measure based on the state laws that limit ballot initiatives to a single subject. The proposed constitutional amendment also allows state lawmakers to authorize additional adult use cannabis business license, although there is no requirement for the legislature to do so. And the initiative retains Florida's current vertically integrated business structure, which requires operators to control the production and marketing of marijuana from seed to sale. Public opinion polls show strong support for Amendment 3, although a recent USA Today poll found that the legalization bid may not have the support required to pass under Florida state law. Ballot initiatives must receive 60% of the votes to pass, a threshold for higher than the simple majority required in most states with an initiative to pass. And earlier surveys show stronger support for ending the prohibition of adult use marijuana in Florida. And a poll from the University of North Florida released last year shows that 67% of voters support legalizing adult use marijuana in the state. And if Amendment 3 is approved by Florida voters in November general election, it will take effect 6 months after Election Day, bringing the total number of states that have legalized adult use marijuana to 25, you guys. Well, I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. Florida GOP, I feel like, is kind of putting their foot in the mud on this one. They are making a big mistake by now.
Jason, what's up with your party, bro?
Yeah, man, you gotta love the party.
Slow down, you guys. I was just criticizing them, and you guys interrupted me criticizing them. That was very rude.
We were agreeing with
party,
you,
bro. This is like when you bring the drunk friend to your homeboy's house and he's crashing all over shit, and we go, "What's up with your bro? What's up with your guy over there, Jay?" Mm-hmm. That's what's happening right now. Your drunk Republicans are in Florida crashing all over the tables right now and knocking over glasses, and we're looking at you right now saying, "Jay, what's up with your boy over there?"
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you gotta love the party of small government and personal liberty. Once again, trying to stop people from having personal freedom in their home.
I agree with this. I think a lot of this is there is a lot of prohibitionist money in Florida, and a lot of these big donors are not fans of cannabis, and I think that is probably the main reason why this is all happening.
I think there's two other points that we should make too. Is one, I don't know that it should be illegal, but I think it's certainly worth questioning when a governor is basically taking a side on a ballot initiative or a constitutional amendment. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but a governor is there to implement the will of the voters, not necessarily to dictate what the will of the voters is. So I think it's weird that he wants to get so personally involved with opposing this initiative. Mm-hmm. And the other point I wanted to make was, if I recall correctly, they had to pass a ballot initiative, which then changed the requirements from a simple majority to a supermajority for future initiatives. And that initiative itself only passed by like 57%. So it missed its own threshold of gaining a supermajority. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I've just always thought that was ironic.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, listen, the law isn't great, right? The Florida law isn't a great one. I'm not going to pretend like it is. It's kind of like the Schedule 3 thing, I guess, if you kind of make that analogy. It's incremental progress that's better. Does it still have a lot of work to do in Florida? Hell yeah, they do. They got a ton of work. But I want to touch on what you said too, Sohum. Not only did the governor say that he was taking a stance against it, but he said he was going to raise money to be able to defeat it and use his time. Now, that to me is baffling. Like, Governor, do you believe that's the best way to allocate resources in your state right now, is to raise money to defeat a ballot initiative that the people are going to vote on anyway?
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand that. So that's a totally side issue. But the Florida ballot initiative should be left to the people. And I don't remember the person in the Republican Party who said it. You said the name, but
Evan.
He said that the cannabis legalization was basically out of step with the people of Florida. Mm-hmm. I would go as far to say you, sir, are out of step with the people of Florida and the United States, if you've looked at any recent polling.
Mm-hmm. Fair.
That's the whole purpose of the initiative process. That's why it exists. Because for a century or more, governments, local, state, and federal governments have had their head up their ass about so many issues that people wanted them to do. And in our system, they advance the initiative. So if you put an initiative in front of the voters and they say, we want it, the governor can't veto it. Mm-hmm. And that's why California led. We did 215, then we did Prop 64. It's like the government's not going to do this shit, so we're going to do it ourselves. And I think the governor's going to pay a price because it's not illegal to say, I'm against this, because he can veto any law that comes towards him. He can't veto the initiative, so he can go out against it. I think politically it's not a wise move to make, or it's not a wise move for the Republicans to make. They could grab a lot of support if they just got reasonable and logical and thought about what do the people want. Can we stop them from getting it? No. Can we work with them? Yeah, this is a way to work with them. Mm-hmm. But as we discussed last time, the cops don't want to get rid of this shit. Mm-hmm. They don't want this to be legal everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I think that guy's definition of it's not in alignment with what the people of Florida want must be using the legal definition that designates a corporation as a person, because I don't know what else he's
corporations are people, bro.
He must have a 1985 McLaren. That's what
I just feel like this is a big misstep on the Republican Party. They should be going for people's personal freedom and liberty to allow them to choose what they want.
Anything with DeSantis behind it is just what the fuck.
I don't know. DeSantis is about to endorse Trump, so he's got some smarts about him.
That's what he's being paid to do. That's how bad it is.
There's a little deal.
And some of the tenets that he espouses, such as states' rights and small government and fiscal conservatism, you're going against all of those principles here. So I don't understand that at all. You're going and the entire Republican Party that is out of line and out of step with the mainstream Republican Party. What are you guys doing over there? How is that states' rights? How are you supporting states' rights by trying to kill a ballot initiative initiated by the people?
Fair enough. And on that, we got to keep this train rolling. We're going to roll right into the dope dad, who's a little bit late today because apparently he had some daddy-daughter duty to take care of.
Yeah.
Maybe as long as it's not daddy-daughter duty, I think it's going to be all right. That's right. It's the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte.
Yeah, man.
Oh, yes.
Shit, you guys.
What's going on?
No applause to that.
No. Adam's not in today. Adam's at school. We have Millie driving the wheels today going on. So
I might not be able to get applause. I might be. Oh wait, hold up.
No, you're not. No.
Oh, man,
you guys need to get over all these applause and shit all the time.
What's my hype train, man?
Oh, God.
You know what I'm saying?
Sorry, Jason, we couldn't hear you over the sound of the applause.
I bet.
Yeah, that was cute. I mean, Rico brings a crowd like that.
I bet.
You know what I'm saying?
I bet.
I got bigger crowds than Donald Trump. You know what I'm saying?
Millie, we need to transfer to just single Rico.
Run the tape.
Run the tape.
Speaking of running,
individuals.
Speaking of running the tape. All right, so today we're going out to back again to New York City. Or New Trap City, as it has become known as, right? And
New Trap City.
It was good while it lasted, because now New York City Mayor Eric Adams announced yesterday that the crackdown has officially begun with the launch of Operation Padlock to Protect. Worst name ever. The launch of Operation Padlock to Protect. The acronym is OPP. Put that in your bank.
You're trying hard for that one.
Right?
Yeah, you know me.
Oh, man. The city will be, more on that in a second. City will be using the full extent of its enforcement capabilities to shut down unlicensed smoking and cannabis stores in all boroughs. The New Trap City honeymoon has officially ended. According to Fox 5's Amanda Geffner, a New York City operation is currently underway, with the end goal being a total shutdown and estimated 2,900 illegal smoke shops. New York City Mayor Adams announced Tuesday that city officials have commenced Operation Padlock to Protect, allowing law enforcement agencies to inspect and close any shops found unlawfully selling cannabis. Today, our administration is delivering on a promise to shut down unlicensed smoke and cannabis shops, protect our young people, and ensure the future of legal cannabis burns bright in New York City, Mayor Adams said. According to a press release, the Adams administration made it clear that any operator acting illegally will face swift consequences to protect the city's children, improve quality of life, and facilitate a safe and thriving legal market. If it reads, thanks to Governor Kathy Hochul and our partners in the state legislature, New York City is now using the full force of law across every borough to padlock and protect our streets. I don't know how you're going to padlock and protect the street, but that's what they're saying. Legal cannabis remains the right choice for our city, but to those who choose to break the law, we will shut you down. Press release also cited that between last summer and last month, the city filed 2 lawsuits against a total of 15 e-cigarette distributors, as well as convenience stores that are the target of Operation Padlock to Protect. I'm just going to call it OPP from now on. y'all can hit me with the y'all. You know me.
You down with OPP?
I'm not down with this OPP though. Fuck this OPP.
This OPP is unenforceable.
Right. So stupid. And the mayor's office said this new operation will accelerate in the coming weeks. The article says the initiative came after the state granted new powers to local authorities in the new state budget. But anyone who's observed the situation from a bird's eye view knows this statement to only be half true. While authorities may have new money available to support enforcement efforts, the framework was installed early 2022. Stay with me. April 18th, 2022, just in time for 420, Adams held a press conference in support of enhanced relaxation towards cannabis-related laws and activities, saying that he envisioned a city skyline with cannabis cultivation facilities on every high-rise rooftop. Remember that, Jason?
Yes.
Everybody thought that it was awesome, and Adams quickly became New York's coolest uncle who let you and your friends do whatever the hell y'all wanted to in his basement. As long as y'all promised not to lock the door, it was understood that everything would be good. Which is crazy because 1 month prior, March 20th, 2022, 1 year after New York officially legalized and less than 4 months after New York's first legal dispensaries opened their doors, Adams announced a new era of quote-unquote quality of life policing. Quality of life policing would commence amid rising criticism that he was weak on crime. BIPOC communities and allied advocates at the time pointed out glaring similarities to quality of life policing had to the 1990s and early 2000s Rudy Giuliani era of broken windows policies where police power ran unchecked. On-site stop and frisk orders were given to black and brown men minding their own damn business, and that became the norm. And tension between NYPD and communities of color was at an all-time high. Mayor Adams defended the move in a statement claiming that the city would not be going back to quote-unquote abusive policing, the particular flavor of policing that he participated in during his own 22-year stretch on the force from 1984 to 2006. Now, I reported on this story and warned about Adams and his inevitable about face when it came out, when this article first came out back in 2022. You can check the archives and run the damn tape. This man is a cop. I said it from the jump. And that is why I would never personally trust Eric Adams. And it's always in the back of my mind about Vice President Kamala Harris as well, and anybody else who has a law enforcement background. So here's, I do not and will not trust words spoken or promises made by those in power trained to govern from a police point of view. If y'all want to believe that whole one bad apple bullshit, y'all can go ahead, do you. I wish y'all the best of luck with that. But don't say I did not warn you. Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street, Friday Night News. Everybody be safe out in New York. It's like they're going to start cracking down.
They're just gaslighting, bro. They don't have the ability to actually lock people's doors. People are paying rent. They have
padlock,
leases.
bro. Padlock. Get it right.
Bro, you know how prevalent bolt cutters are in New York?
Waters.
I mean, first of all, Rico, what you were saying about the one bad apple, we should always remember what the full idiom is. It says one bad apple spoils the bunch.
I'll tell you what.
People always forget the second half of that. But more importantly, honestly, if Mayor Adams likes to play whack-a-mole so much, I'd recommend that he go to a Chuck E. Cheese or a Dave & Buster's, because he could save taxpayers a lot of money and probably play the same game.
Well, I'll tell you what. I feel like this is going to be so great and exciting to watch, because I can just see a bunch of people going and hiring a bunch of illegals to be like, hey, we're going to hire you to go and chop off all these locks that the city goes and puts up on these businesses for us. And then there's going to be a whole big what to do when they're having illegals cut the locks off as opposed to U.S. citizens. It's going to be a whole, they're not going to know what to do with that.
Sir, what do undocumented immigrants have to do with this?
Because
also, every time Jason starts being a conspiracy theorist, it gives me anxiety.
Right. That sounds like some xenophobic, like
no, bro. I'm giving them jobs.
That sounded like Ron DeSantis right there.
He's trying to be the Rush Limbaugh of cannabis.
You guys are so crazy, bro. You guys are crazy.
This sounds like Lucy and Charlie Brown. Oh, come on, fall for it again. We're going to go out and enforce. We're going to stop all this stuff. There's no place you can find in the United States where that has ever worked. People want weed.
Exactly.
The only way that you get rid of the black market is to make it so that people who want to do it legitimately can get their licenses and do it legitimately. Because if you try to stop them, the trap's going to laugh at you and step around the corner. I got what you want. How many times do we have to keep going through this? I mean, if Adams thinks this is okay, he's diagnosable. He needs to go see a psychiatrist, because this is the bare definition of fucking insanity. Why do you keep doing this stuff?
Well, it's the head in the sand mentality, right? It's like you literally have had 20 years of data and states to study and systems and programs and all these other things to study, right? Of how to get this right, or how to at least get it better. Let's put it like that, because who knows if we ever get it totally right. We're striving towards a more perfect union here, right? And that's the same thing with the cannabis industry. So New York has this mess over there. It's a hot mess. And then you got these politicians feeling motivated by the public opinion to do something and then create more of a mess. Listen, let the market figure it out. Let that market settle down. It will figure itself out. The people that are trapping the legal market, all that stuff, it will all figure itself out. And if you stop making these ridiculous regulations, these crazy taxes, these crazy loopholes, these enforcement nonsense, then you'll have a situation where the markets that you're trying to get into, the legal market, will come over willingly because it makes sense and it's easy. But when you make it, when it don't make sense, it don't make dollars. That's what the trap understands. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense.
Yep, fair enough. And on that, we're going to roll to a commercial. We are going to be right back.
The Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated.
And make sure that you hit that like button. I know we'll appreciate it, you'll appreciate it, and YouTube will appreciate it. Also, if you have not subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe to the channel right now. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show will be up on the website a little bit later today. So thank you all for your patience. And then we go right into the next commercial, Millie. The smoky vanilla, there we go.
I'm Jason Beck, and this is Smoky Vanilla. And if you want to feel as good as I look, then you need to get a stretch and smoke with Smoky Vanilla.
Hi, I'm Smoky Vanilla. I have my bachelor's degree in kinesiology, and I'm a sports massage therapist and stretch coach. I focus mostly on individuals that are in sport with chronic pain or injury. I love to intuitively create a custom session based on the individual that I'm working with. We'll go over a few postural assessments, work together to create a wellness journey based on the health history, past injuries, or anything still affecting you today. and will get you back on your feet right away with less pain.
We're about to stretch, and then we're gonna smoke, because we're gonna get on our stretch and smoke. If you want to feel as good as I look, then you need to come on down and get a stretch and smoke with none other than Smoky Vanilla.
Oh, yeah, everybody. Y'all know who it is up next. He is the author, activist, entrepreneur, OG, trailblazer, warrior for justice. And word on the street, he got a fresh album out there on streaming platforms. Got to check out. But coming to the stage, fellow dope dad, my man, Scarmazzo.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, man, we got a lot of stuff going right now. We got the brand, we got Profit Brands.
Right. We can't have a recording artist out here without no applause. Come on.
Please tell me
now that was good, man.
You laid down a track over that BBL Drizzy beat that dropped this weekend?
Oh boy.
No, that shit was hard. I was actually on the Kendrick Drake thing going back and forth all weekend. They were dropping like every couple hours. It was crazy.
You know what's funny?
Not like us. What a banger.
On that, I was at the Netflix as a joke last night. The Seth Rogen at the Lights Up the Hollywood Bowl, courtesy of Republic Brands and OCB last night, and they did a whole little skit in regards to the whole Kendrick and Kendrick beef with Drake and everything. Oh, bro, it was
best BBL Drizzy.
Yeah, and it was the best part was like, you know, they were battling, they were beefing, da 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 da, and you know, and Drake says this, and then Kendrick comes back and just fires back. It's like, you might as, you know, you're pretty much a pedophile, bro. You might as well just register. And then
shout out to K-Dot, man. K-Dot is murking the game right now. He stepped lyrical levels, the level up, like with what he's been doing, and Kendrick Lamar has always had, you know, next level lyrics. So
shout out to him.
I mean, he's a Pulitzer Prize winner. He's the only hip hop artist ever to win a Pulitzer Prize. Like we knew he could write, but yeah, as somebody that's been saying these same things about Drake for 10 years, I was laughing my ass off the entire weekend.
Shout out to Self Snitching. How about that?
It's called confessing. That's what it's called. It's called confessions. Don't ever do them too. Whether you're pulled over, whether you're in a holding room or anything, do not confess. Listen, they're never going to help you. No matter what it is, anything you say will be used against you. Period. Just end the sentence right there.
Yeah. So shut the fuck up.
So that is a good segue into my outlaw news of Wednesday. First and foremost, we have a 19,000. I got two short stories. So there was a lot of law enforcement activity over this past few days. So I picked two short ones just so we could cover two different areas. So the first one is cultivation, something that's very close to my heart. Here we have 19,000 illegal marijuana plants destroyed in San Benito County. The San Benito County Sheriff's Office said that they busted an illegal marijuana operation sometime last week. The San Benito County Sheriff's Office, CASPR Task Force, CASPR, wow, cool acronym, Task Force helped with the Hollister Fire Department after they found an illegal marijuana farm on Buena Vista Road. They ended up destroying 19,000 illegal marijuana plants, said the San Benito County Sheriff's Office on a social media post. The post added the investigation is ongoing. Now, there wasn't much details after that. The investigation's ongoing. I haven't ever seen an illegal marijuana plant. I only see marijuana plants. I don't know who deems those illegal. They were here before people even had words like illegal and legal. But I don't know. I guess people get to come later on and just start pointing at things that the good Lord made and saying illegal, illegal. We'll come back to that at another time. My second story is good though. Listen up on this one. Ninth person pleads guilty in nationwide marijuana trafficking case. ABC News, Channel 10. Albany, New York. What do you know? We're back. We're back in Gotham, baby. A ninth person has pled guilty to their involvement in a nationwide marijuana trafficking and money laundering conspiracy, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office. Onisha Smith, 41, of Brooklyn, BK in the house, admitted to being a part of trafficking thousands of kilograms of marijuana and THC across the country, as well as laundering the proceeds from the organization. It is alleged that thousands of kilograms of THC were trafficked from Fresno, California, to places throughout the United States, including the capital region. Over 20 people were indicted on charges related to this, including Smith's brother, Lateek White. Smith also admitted to laundering the marijuana proceeds by purchasing cashier's checks with cash proceeds from Singletary, depositing cash into her bank account, and transferring money to Singletary. She would also receive payment for marijuana and transfer it to the organization. The defendants will face up to 20 years in prison for conspiracy to distribute marijuana and conspiring to commit money laundering. She will also face fines of up to $1 million and $500,000, respectively, and probation of up to 3 years to life. So, this story is not from 5 years ago. This story is not from 2 years ago. The story's from yesterday. The feds are still giving people 20 years in prison for weed. That's still happening right now. The state is too, in a number of states. Go to Idaho and get caught with what she got caught with and see how many years you get. Go to Nebraska and see how many years you get. The state of cannabis right now, the social justice aspect of it, is nowhere near over. I know everybody's like, we're celebrating. We got the Schedule 3. Everybody's like smoking weed in the streets and it's all good. No, it's not all good. People are still going to prison. Not even the dumbest part of we're not letting people out of prison. It's the super ignorant on steroids part where we're still sending people into prison. Hello. How is this making sense? So, of course, we have people that are in communities that have been overpoliced, still being overpoliced. And these are situations that, as a people, we're continuing to spend money on this, and it's stupid. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. I don't care if you're a Dem. I don't care if you're a Republican. Nobody thinks we should continue to waste money on this. Nobody. And continue to waste lives, continue to waste resources. Let's stop it. But anyway, I'm going to kick it back to my fellow correspondents. Hi at 9 News. This is Luke Scarmazzo. What you guys think about this, man?
Was this a non-violent offense?
Yeah, non-violent. I mean, unless they kept saying marijuana. She trafficked marijuana and THC. So maybe the THC was violent. I don't know, because they kept separating that away from the marijuana. I'm not sure why that kept on being a distinction.
I assume they're talking about distillate when they say that.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter because you're going to target a drug. Fentanyl is the one killing people right now.
Exactly.
And the fuck are you out doing this? Okay. And the bigger problem they have is that cannabis is not what we call a moral turpitude crime. This is very classic prohibition, and the public is not in favor of it. So they keep going out and acting like they're your dad and they told you not to do it, and the public's going, we don't give a shit. Why are you acting like this? And here we are again. And if you make the Schedule 3, they're not going to take away minimum mandatories. We're going to still continue to see this happening.
Exactly.
Because if you grow 100 plants in 5 years, you're looking at 5-year minimum mandatory. 1,000 in 5 years, it's 10-year minimum mandatory. And if you don't have a federal license to grow weed, your ass is hanging out.
Yeah, and Schedule 3 doesn't change that. Schedule 3 changes the base penalty mandatory minimums for cannabis, but anything tied to a weight or tied to conspiracy or tied to any of those other charges that they use 99% of the time, that doesn't change any of those penalties. Like Dale said, 1,000 plants is still 10 years, whether it's Schedule 1 or Schedule 3. That's statutory right there. That has to be changed by the law. That can't be a Band-Aid that we put on with McClintock, Blumenauer, or a Band-Aid that we put on with a Cole memo or something. This has to be a legislative change.
Yeah, and I mean, on top of that too, right, even if they do just reduce some of the sentencing there, it doesn't change the fact that they're engaged in criminal activity, which means as soon as their money touches the financial system, they're going to get them on money laundering. And the fact that these people confess to money laundering, the sentencing requirements and the fines for money laundering are probably a lot higher than they are for cannabis. Like, they might end up getting longer sentences on that. So unless they're flipping on somebody, I'm actually shocked that they just admitted to their entire process for putting that money into bank accounts. Like, that's crazy. Like, always remember, they couldn't prove that Al Capone was bootlegging. They knew he was, but they couldn't prove it. They couldn't prove any of the dirt he did, any of the murders, any of that shit. They waited until they figured out that he was evading taxes, because you mess with that money, then the government's going to come for you.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's actually interesting you said that too, because in my trial, we initially had money laundering charges. They always used to do that at the beginning. They would raid the dispensary, put the conspiracy charges and money laundering charges, because they automatically assume any time that you used the money, you had to have been laundering it, right? However, the funny thing back then was, money laundering is what's called a crime of intent. So I have to know that the proceeds are illicit or come from a bad place before I'm going to wash them into the bank or wherever you're putting them, right? So because it's a crime of intent, we were going to be able to enter in all of our medical cannabis defense, because now we get to prove, hey, this is the reason why we thought the money was legit. And you know what they did? Dropped all the money laundering charges.
Yep, fair enough. And speaking of dropping money laundering charges, Rico, we got to roll right into our next correspondent.
Let's do it. Up next, it's a well-known industry expert and dedicated marijuana mama from Northern California. She's also a Emerald Cup edibles judge and the head honcho at the Women's Cannabis Awards. Here to break us off with a little Carmen Sacramento game for that ass on this hump day. Y'all know who it is. Manndie Tingler.
Thank you. Yeah. Good morning, everyone.
Yeah.
I got some applause for you.
There we go.
Long live the Queen in the North.
There we go.
Thank you.
The Green Queen.
Oh, well, this story I have here today is definitely one that I think will pique some ears. And ladies, I hope you're listening. You probably already know this. My fellow cannabis sisters, we figured this one out a long time ago. But this one is where you share this with your non-believing friends. I think this might intrigue them. A headline today comes out of Marijuana Moment, and it reads, "Cannabis can help treat female orgasmic disorder. A study finds as Ohio officials consider adding it as a qualifying condition."
No, I'm not.
Because ahead of decision by Ohio officials on whether to add female orgasmic disorder as a qualifying condition for medical marijuana, a new study highlights the benefits that researchers say cannabis could offer people with the condition, including increased orgasm ease and satisfaction. A 10-page study published by the journal Sexual Medicine draws on a 2022 survey of sexually active women who used cannabis. Among those who experienced challenges in achieving orgasm, more than 7 in 10 said cannabis use increased orgasm ease, 71%, and frequency was reported by 72.9%. 2/3, or 67%, said it improved their orgasm satisfaction. The results corroborate 50 years of anecdotal and learned speculation about cannabis helping women with female orgasmic disorder, the paper says. Research found that cannabis use increased orgasm frequency, eased orgasm difficulty, and improved overall satisfaction at the same time. ahead of a decision by Ohio officials on whether to add female orgasmic disorder as a qualifying condition for the state's medical marijuana program. This new study highlights the benefits that researchers say could offer people with this disorder a true release and satisfaction, and achieve satisfaction. Anxiety also was one of the areas significantly reported to overlap with female orgasmic disorders. And it says that women with anxiety disorders represented 44% of the studied population, and they were 3.5 times more likely to also have this orgasmic disorder. Another new finding was that marijuana resulted in more orgasms for women who are survivors of sexual abuse. Sexual abuse survivors' number one sexual complaint is orgasm difficulty, the reporter says, coupled with high rates of PTSD. The study revealed that 33% more women with sexual abuse histories reported female orgasmic disorder than women with or without. And I'm going to pause right here for a second because you guys know that I was a clinician, a therapist, before I was in the cannabis industry as an entrepreneur full-time. And one of the most frequent things that I would hear women talk about is challenges with orgasm. I remember talking with so many women about feeling frustrated around this issue and having to refer them to their clinician, right? Because when I was a therapist, it was not okay to be talking about cannabis use. And yet it is actually something that a lot of the women in our industry now recognize very much so. And if you look at the historical use of cannabis, I mean, there has just been a ton of correlation between cannabis use and sexual enhancement. And so, like they said, 50 years of anecdotal, I think it's, centuries of anecdotal reporting. And so I want to just continue on here. It says the latest publication comes ahead of the board meeting on Wednesday, where Ohio State Medical Board is about to make this vote. I think that this is really exciting information for women in general to have this kind of research being done. Obviously, a lot more needs to continue to be produced in this arena. But I'm very interested to see what the state of Ohio does. I think that we're going to start seeing more of these medical states trying to pile on more and more reasons. It's only evidence that's going to head in the right direction for access to cannabis. But I'm really interested to see or hear what my fellow correspondents had to say about this research study. And also, if you have any information or anyone in your life that has reported similar findings or even findings in opposition. This is Carmen Sacramento coming at you live for High at 9 News.
Now, I would listen to the news all the time if you talked about females, orgasm, and cannabis on here, Jason. If you could just hit those three topics every time, I would literally tune into the High at 9 News every morning. Because I couldn't think of a better way to wake up than hearing about female orgasms and cannabis. That's just a positive way for me to wake up.
Yes, I'm with that. I'm not mad at that, Luke. That's a great way to wake up.
I think it's great. And any new condition is great.
Yeah.
I don't have a ton of personal experience with female orgasm disorder, but regardless, I think it's great that Ohio is doing this. But I think more importantly, we should move away from letting politicians dictate what doctors are allowed to recommend a substance for. Like, that's just not their place. They don't do that for just about any other drug. That those decisions are made up to. I'm using the term medical professionals here because, it is still the FDA at the end of the day, but some degree of medical professional more so than a state legislative body. I think that's the bigger issue here, that it should be left up to a physician. I can't remember. I think it was last week. One state announced that they were basically proposing to move away from a condition-based list of recommending cannabis and allowing it to be left completely up to the discretion of the physician. And I think that's really should be the ideal goal for medical cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's definitely what. Leave it to the. No, I was just saying that definitely leave it to the doctors. Don't even some politicians that used to be doctors think they can get up there at 80 years old and say this is the only thing it'll work for, and that's just not true.
So we're leaving it.
Just leave those medical decisions up to the patient and their doctor.
We're leaving it to the OBGYNs, huh, Luke?
Yeah, leave it to the OBGYNs, man.
All right.
They know what they're doing.
I think it's a good sign.
Those women and men are smart.
I think it's a good sign we're able to have an honest conversation amongst a bunch of old guys about women's orgasm and listen respectfully and try to consider that. But I'll point out that if smoking weed gave you a woody, it would have been legal a long time ago.
Hey, you know what? I knew a doctor. I knew a doctor that said that it was good for his libido, and he was like an 80-year-old doctor.
It does increase sexual arousal. It does for both. But listen. One of the things that I really think is happening here is that cannabis really just allows you to like get out of your mind. And for women, we have not just the responsibility of whatever it is that we're doing at work, but ultimately everything that goes wrong or happens with our kids is also on us. You should have seen my morning this morning.
Yeah.
Okay. And
sounds turned up.
Ultimately, all the burdens of the household still fall on the women's shoulders too. So at the end of the night, after you've had nothing but stress on your shit all day long, and now you're expected to go hop into bed and be all sexy, it's not exactly easy every single time. It's not easy to leave behind everything that happened. Guys somehow can do it. Women, no. And so I really think that cannabis, where this comes into play, is it allows you to kind of like relax. You can start to lighten the load off your shoulders for a little bit, and that is where intimacy can start to happen.
You know what? The Sabette house would be a lot more peaceful.
Oh boy!
Just let this lady smoke a little weed.
Oh boy! Oh.
Hey, what she? I won't go there.
Yeah, Rico. Let's roll into the next.
That's a slippery slope.
Yeah, let's roll into Sohum before.
It will be a slippery slope.
Oh boy.
But.
Or a moist one.
She'll relax, bro.
Yes, up next. He's got over a decade of regulated cannabis technology and data experience under his belt, and he's working on a pro-athlete-focused lifestyle brand called Grind. Give it up for the man, the myth, the legend, coming out to close us out today, Sohum Shah.
Oh,
thank you, Rico.
Rico, you got some applause?
You got
some applause, Rico? There you go.
Sohum.
Today we're gonna close it out with a little bit more of a drier subject than what we were just discussing. Let me reframe myself here.
There, whoa.
Like literally drier or figuratively drier?
Probably both. I don't know what happened here to the.
I don't know what you did either, bro.
I didn't do anything. Yeah, there we go.
There you go. There he is. Fist
there
bump.
you go.
Yes. And this is going to sound crazy because we don't usually hear about any type of common sense coming from our tax agency, the IRS. But today we have some common sense being spoken by the IRS commissioner. He says that passing a marijuana banking bill would increase integrity and quality control in the financial system. The head of the Internal Revenue Service, or the IRS, says marijuana industry banking access would make the agency's job easier, and officials shouldn't just sit on our hands as the federal government moves to reschedule cannabis. At a hearing before the House Appropriations Subcommittee on Financial Services and General Government on Tuesday, Chairman Dave Joyce, a Republican out of Ohio, pressed IRS Commissioner Daniel Werfel about cannabis banking and tax compliance issues. The commissioner said that the Justice Department's decision to move marijuana from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 of the Controlled Substances Act is recent, and what we need to do in a moment like this is understand the implications that this change will have on a whole variety of different elements of this part of the economy. He continued, what will their status be with respect to financial institutions? Will they remain mostly a cash-based industry, or would they move into something other than cash? All of these things are important moving pieces for the IRS to determine how this emerging and changing industry is assessed at the right level and paying what they owe. He added, we shouldn't just sit on our hands, we should be active and looking at what steps we need to take and what we need to interact with this community to make sure we understand and talk to them. The IRS commissioner also said that in his experience, industries are generally, quote unquote, very amenable to getting clarifications on their tax expectations, and the cannabis industry is no different. It's not a good thing if you're operating in ambiguity. It's a stressful enough situation to pay your taxes, he said. Committing to working with the congressman to understand how this change evolves the industry and make sure we get the right tax structure set up for them to operate in. There's more comments about it. It just goes into details, but ultimately, the head of the IRS is endorsing clarification and reform for taxes for cannabis businesses and legitimization of the financial part of the industry, which, again, I don't know if I've ever said that the head of the IRS was making sense, but here we have it. It's a new day, a new dawn. So yeah, this article was first dropped by Kyle Yeager at Marijuana Moment, so shout out to them. And this is Sohum with High at 9 News. Let's kick it back to the team and see what everyone has to say.
Oh yeah, man, oh man. I mean, so I'm a little confused on this article, Sohum. Just a little bit confused.
Integrity.
Yeah, exactly. These guys, they're saying that it would benefit the integrity and the control if safe banking were to pass. Am I correct on that?
Yes, I think he was talking more about rescheduling. There is a mention of safe or safer banking later in the article, but his comments are not directly related to safe banking. He's basically just saying this new, discussion about a potential move from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 has initiated him to, want to discuss how this affects the cannabis industry and address it head on, as opposed to sitting on their hands, right? Which is, again, refreshing. I don't, 280, whether 280E or not applies is not really a determination for the IRS commissioner at the end of the day. So I just think it's nice to have support from the agency that's collecting the taxes, because in my mind, they would be the most resilient to getting rid of 280E, because that's going to drastically reduce the amount of taxes they collect from the cannabis industry. So that was the most hopeful part for me, right?
I don't know if it would drastically decrease overall taxes once it goes into effect down the road. I hear what you're saying. Immediately, immediately they would lose. I think down the road we would actually have a bigger pool. But
agreed.
I agree with you, Sohum, 100%. I think this is very refreshing that we have somebody in government that wants to be proactive. That doesn't happen a lot. Matter of fact, it's very, very rare. Most of the time they go in crisis management mode. They'll wait till the day it's supposed to happen, scramble around, ask for extensions, get 6 months, drop the ball again in 6 months. I mean, that's usually the way these things go. So to see somebody actually saying, hey, I see this coming down the road, let's try to prepare for it, refreshing. If he can get that whole bureaucratic machine to move, I'd be more impressed.
Yeah, I'd be shocked. Because if you do manage to get a Schedule 3 manufacturing or distribution license, or even a retail license, then 280E is going to be a problem for you, okay? But if you don't have one of those licenses, which no legal state legal dispensary or cannabis operation in this country has or is likely to get, then you still are illegally selling a product. You can only write off cost of goods sold. We're still in the same situation we were before.
No, Dale, that is actually going to change. You are correct in the sense that it would have, but they actually have the language in that it doesn't matter. The language of the 280 is Schedule 1 or Schedule 2. So once it goes to a Schedule 3, they'll be able to be allowed to take off those deductions, even if they're not licensed from the FDA. Those deductions will apply to everybody. And I'll show you offline. I'll show you offline where I have that.
Yeah, I would be shocked. I would be shocked.
This whole story is just oxymoronic, man. You want to increase integrity and quality control in our financial system? Stop selling people products. How about that? Yeah. Don't sell financial products at all. Don't incentivize predatory practices within anywhere along the entire value chain.
You mean stop bundling together a bunch of loans and then have your boy put a AAA rating on them and then go sell them over to another?
Yeah, exactly.
Rico and I had a good talk about this.
Yeah, they have the tools necessary to have a completely legit financial system. But the reason why we don't, because they got all the money.
And they ain't gonna give it up either.
No, they don't even want you to learn about it. Exactly. They don't want you to say as dumb as shit about this shit.
It ain't about crypto. Like, we have all the controls, we have all the technology. Remove the people from the financial system, and I bet you will have zero debt. And everybody will all pay their taxes. But that will never happen.
Exactly.
The debt business makes way too much money for them to give it up. Come on, they love us being trillions of dollars in debt and private credit. I mean, it's the new company store. We're all slaves. What did Lenin say? We're all fucking peasants, you know? Come on, dude. I'm not going to give this up.
Yeah, right?
No. That's 100% right there. We should end on that. Those are wise words.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yes, indeed. And on that note, you know, this thing is coming to an end. But look at this, man. This is the best thing you can ever drink out of. Just want to let y'all know. Manndie, Luke, you guys probably know about these. At the top on it, you'll never spill everything. So keep one of those right next to you.
They're called sippy cups
all the
Rico.
time. Thank you all for joining.
I'm still spilling with my high at 9 all over the place.
Cheers. Cheers, Luke.
Yeah, where do I get one of those?
This is how you protect your keyboard.
On our website at www.high9news.com.
Oh yeah, I had you didn't get one of these yet?
www.
I don't have any high at 9 news.
So you just go to the website. You know what I'm saying? Do all that.
Okay. Well, I was giving you a softball to plug the website right there.
You actually have to. It's only when you log in 100 stories. Once you get to your 100th story, he gives you a coffee mug.
www.high9news.com, where you can find all of that and more.
Some brand.
And if I get to 10,000 stories, you buy me a Tesla, right?
No, you get a pin. You get a pin, a lapel pin.
I love that.
I was gonna
That's
get
what I've always wanted.
No, I was actually gonna do it like a sport coat
of High at 9 News. You can catch us live weekdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to Superfans showing love, getting their comments posted live on the big screen, our live audience and online supporters, catching us across all media platforms, tuning in each day to the headlines of chaos, also known as the developing cannabis industry. Our vetted correspondent team tuning in from all over, giving us their much needed variety of perspective and your respected opinions, bringing them to the table. Our production team, Cloud Media Partners, House of... Oh, this is the old one. The old script.
You're supposed to throw that one in the trash, bro. Yeah.
Reverse.
Cloud Media Partners, all our sponsors, keeping the lights on. AV struggles to a minimum. And always Cannabis Steve L, the reason that we show up to read these stories every single day. It has been Wednesday, May 8th, 2024. Show's over. You've all been blessed with top industry headlines. Hope it's enough for you to put in your pipe and smoke at least until tomorrow. My name is Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High at 9 News, the cannabis industry's #1 daily news show. And today, is Manndie still on? Manndie still on?
No, she had to step out. She's in a meeting.
I'm gonna give it to Manndie's proxy.
Luke proxy.
Yeah, I got reduced to the
dropped
proxy.
more heat than Drake did.
Yeah,
you dropped more heat than Drake did this weekend. What you got for us? Man? Take us out.
Man, listen, come check us out. Profit Brands. Check out Read High Price if you want to learn how this industry started. And Journey to Death. We just redropped the album. It's awesome. We got it up on all streaming platforms. Come check it out. Come do our thing. And be the light in a dark place.
Fair enough.
Or be the dark in a light place.
I was like, or channel your inner K-Dot.
You guys are cute.
I live in the gray, baby.
All right. Run it, Millie.